The Pitchsider. Pitchside for every game.
Hello and welcome back to the Pitchsider Podcast. Hope you're doing well. We've had the return of the Champions League this week. So we've had the first round of fixtures there, as well as the Europa League and Conference League, as well as a full round of fixtures in all of the leagues as well. So yeah, been a busy week of football. A lot have gone on. Definitely a few shocks here and there. It's been a good week of football for any football fan. Pretty much football every single day. So let's get on to talking about the Champions League. So let's run through some of the fixtures for the Champions League. So we had Galatasaray versus Copenhagen, which ended 2-2. Bayern Munich beat Manchester United 4-3. Arsenal beat PSV 4-0. Seville and Lens ended 1-1. Real Madrid beat Union Berlin 1-0. Napoli beats Braga 2-1. Red Bull Salzburg beat Benfica 2-0. Real Sociedad and Inter Milan drew 1-1. Feyenoord and Celtic. Feyenoord won this 2-0. Atletico Madrid and Lazio ended 1-1. AC Milan and Newcastle ended 0-0. PSG and Borussia Dortmund ended 2-0. RB Leipzig and Young Boys ended 3-1 to RB Leipzig. Manchester United beat Red Star Belgrade. Barcelona beat Royal Antwerp 5-0. And Porto beat Shakhtar Donetsk 3-1. So yeah, a lot of different fixtures here. Obviously, some teams played harder teams. One of the standout games was the Bayern Munich versus Manchester United. Everyone thought this game would be a walkover. By long shot, Bayern Munich definitely did dominate in this game. United did play well within the first maybe 20 minutes, but then as soon as that first Bayern goal went in, they were lucky to get the two goals late from Casemiro. Bayern Munich also did get some late goals, so it's definitely an interesting game to go and watch. Definitely worth watching. Arsenal marked their return back to Champions League with their win over PSV. Very solid performance by Arsenal, very clinical, didn't make any mistakes. Also, Real Madrid get off winning ways, winning 1-0. The defending champions, Man City, won their first game, 3-1. Obviously, Newcastle back in the Champions League after about 20 years, drew 0-0 to AC Milan after AC Milan were smashed 5-1 last weekend by Inter Milan. PSG and Borussia Dortmund was probably the markout game from the other day on Tuesday. Two giants going head to head. Obviously, PSG have lost Messi and Neymar, but they did get a 2-0 victory over Borussia Dortmund in this game. So I'm going to look at the tables in Group A. Bayern Munich are top with Manchester United in bottom. Group B, Arsenal are top with Lens Seville with 1 point and PSV with 1. Group C, Napoli and Real Madrid are top with 3 points. Group D, Red Bull Salzburg are with 3 points with Inter Milan and Sociedad all both on 1 point. Group E, Feyenoord are currently top with Atletico Madrid, Lazio and Celtic below them. Group F, which is the standout group, PSG are top with Newcastle, AC Milan drawing and Borussia Dortmund 0-0. We're going to lose a big team from this group. Group C, RB Leipzig and Manchester United are on 3 points. And Group H, Barcelona and Porto are on 3 points as well. So all to play for. Obviously, do let us know who your favourites are from this group. Definitely good to watch. Obviously, in UK, we've now got TNT Sports. Definitely a number of games to be watched here and there. Obviously, if you want to keep up to date and want to know which game you want to watch, Pitchsider Picks is always on the Pitchsider, so do check that out. Most Champions League days, we do pick a game to watch, so definitely go and see who we suggest you go and watch. Last week's was Bayern Munich versus Manchester United and PSG versus Dortmund, the two biggest games. But if there is an interesting game, we obviously will keep you up to date with that. I wouldn't say there's any shocks from this sort of Champions League groups at the moment. Probably maybe the draw of Inter Milan and Real Sociedad and Atletico Madrid and Lazio. You would have thought Atletico Madrid would have had more bite about them, and Inter Milan obviously being the finalists from last season. But yeah, it's been interesting. It was interesting to see Newcastle back in. They've got a very good team now. And AC Milan definitely sort of bounced back. I believe Newcastle are going to be one of these teams that will do a lot better at home. A bit more familiarity to them. They did go to the San Siro, which is quite an intimidating stadium to go and play in. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they do in the reverse fixture and how they do against PSG and Dortmund. PSG are going to be obviously glad to go. Mbappe coming to St James's Park is going to be interesting with all the Newcastle fans. So yeah, definitely interesting to see. It's nice to see a few different teams from last season. Obviously, last season we had Liverpool and Chelsea in this competition. Liverpool now in Europa League and Chelsea aren't in Europe at all. So yeah, interesting to see some different teams and see how they get on. Let's have a quick look at the Europa League. We won't go through the tables as it's only been 1 week, but we'll go through the games. So Group A, Olympiacos lost to Feyenoord 3-2. West Ham beat Baka Topol 3-1. Obviously, West Ham are back in Europa League after winning the Conference League last season. Ajax and Marseille ended 3-3. Brighton, new team, obviously carrying on that theme. They're a new team in the Europa League. This is the first year in European football. Unfortunately, they lost to Athens 3-2. Rangers beat Real Betis 1-0. RS Limos lost to Sparta Prague 3-2. Atalanta beat Real Czechna 2-0. Stongrove lost to Sporting Lisbon 2-1. Liverpool beat LASK. Union Berlin drew Union drew to Toulouse 1-1. Pamphos won against Villarreal. Bit of a shock here. Rennes beat Maccabi 3-0. Slager Plav beat Slovenia 2-1. And Roma beat Sheriff 2-1. Bayer Leverkusen beat BK Häkkinen 4-0. And Korberg beat Molde 1-0. In the Conference League, we've just covered the bigger games. So we've got Aston Villa. They lost to Warsaw 3-2. Obviously, the only English team in this competition at the moment. And yeah, good to see, again, a different team in this. We had West Ham last time. Club Brugge drew 1-1 to Besiktas. Fiorentina and Ghent drew 2-2. That's probably all of the biggest games at the moment. Few different teams in this competition. So it's good to see, obviously, Aston Villa, Brighton, Newcastle, all of these teams in the Conference League. It's good to see them playing against some different teams to see their calibre and to see where the actual English sort of calibre is compared to some of the European teams. Obviously, these are playing teams that finished 4th and 5th. And these teams are more what we see mid-table in the Premier League. So it's good to see them move forward. And yeah, going to be an exciting season for Europe. Let's go over the Premier League now. So on Saturday, we had a 0-0 draw between Crystal Palace and Fulham. Luton and Wolverhampton drew 1-1. Manchester City beat Forest 2-0. Everton beat Brentford 3-1. Manchester United got back to winning ways with a 1-0 victory over Burnley. Arsenal and Tottenham in the North London derby drew 2-2. Brighton beat Bournemouth 3-1. Villa beat Chelsea 1-0. Liverpool beat West Ham 3-1. And Newcastle versus Sheffield ended 8-0 to Newcastle. There's obviously one game we want to just talk about. So this is the 8-0 victory against Sheffield United. Newcastle matched their record win with a fantastic display as they embraced a winless Sheffield at Bramall Lane. Any fears of a European hangover following their Champions League on Tuesday soon exited as the side cruised to victory, with 8 different players getting on the score sheet. So the scorers were Sean Longscarf, Byrne, Botman, Wilson, Gordon, Almiron, Bruno and Isak, with Gordon getting a goal, Trippier getting 3 assists, Anderson getting an assist, and Bruno getting an assist. So yeah, what a fantastic game this is. As of watching this, this has just ended as we are recording this podcast, so definitely worth going and watch this game, even if you go and watch the highlights. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be one. Stefan Botman got his first Newcastle game on his 50th appearance. Looking at the table, Man City remain top with 18 points. Liverpool are now in second with 16. Brighton are in third and Tottenham are in fourth. Arsenal drop out of the top 4 after a draw with Arsenal. Aston Villa and West Ham make up the European spots. Newcastle sit in 8th with Manchester United in 9th. Going to the bottom of the table, Sheffield are bottom now. Burnley are obviously above them, and Luton picked up their first point of the season. So everyone in the Premier League now has a point with 1. But Luton and Burnley are still to play each other. So one of these teams probably will rocket out of the Champions League, with Bournemouth, Wolves and Everton just above them, with Chelsea just above them, Brentford, Forest, Fulham making up the rest of the table, with Palace in 10th. So yeah, definitely interesting. Let's have a quick look at some of the other tables. So let's look at the Championship. Not going to go through all of the games this week because there's been quite a few games to get through. So let's start at the bottom and let's work our way up. So in the National League, Chesterfield have won all 11 games so far and have 28 points. Salcombe Moor and Barnet make up the playoff spots, with Gateshead, Bromley, Hartlepool and Rochdale all also making up the points to go into the playoffs. Sitting in the relegation zone, you've got Maidenhead United, AFC Fylde, Kidderminster Harriers and Southend United. 4 points make up the difference. 11 games have been played, so yeah, definitely starting to take shape. And yeah, as teams start to shuffle around the table, get settled into the table, it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. Looking at League 2, Notts County are top of the table after 9 games have been played, with 20 points, with Gillingham and Mansfield Town making up the other spots. Crawley Town, Swindon, Crewe Alexandra and Wrexham make up the playoffs. Can Notts County make it 2 out of 2 back-to-back promotions? In the relegation, we have Tranmere Rovers and Sutton, which are currently lingering at the bottom, and they have lost their last 5 games, but both of them have got a win and a draw in the last game. League 1, Portsmouth are top of the table, with Oxford City with a game in hand. So if they do win this, Oxford will go top. Stevenage, Port Vale, Barnsley and Exeter City make up the other playoff places, with Wigan, Reading, Fleetwood Town and Cheltenham Town making up the relegation spots, with Cheltenham Town only having 1 point from a draw after 9 games have been played. Finally, in the Championship, Leicester are top with 7 wins out of 8 with 21 points. Ipswich Town are also joint on points with them. Preston North End, Hull, City, Sunderland and Leeds also make up the rest of the playoffs, but there is 5 points between Hull City and Preston North End, who sit 3rd and 4th. Cardiff and Norwich City also have the same amount of points as Sunderland and Leeds, who sit in the playoffs. In the relegation zone, we have Middlesbrough, Rotherham United and Sheffield Wednesday. Let's move on to the Europe. So let's talk about the 4 leagues in Europe. We always talk about, but we first want to just talk about Ajax versus Feyenoord. This game was postponed. This isn't the first game that's been postponed in the Dutch league. Ajax and Feyenoord match was abandoned after 56 minutes after the home supporters threw flares onto the pitch. The visitors went up 3-0 in the first half in the Johan Cruyff Stadium, prompting the first flares to be thrown. The match was temporarily paused and then was called off when trouble restarted. It's not good to see. Obviously, we want to see these games being played, and by obviously a team not doing well, Ajax currently sit 14th in the league, but they do have 2 games in hand. It's not great to see. Obviously, not promoting for football, and obviously when these big games come around, they're going to be closed. But if this continues, it's going to be done behind closed doors. You don't think obviously Chelsea and United are doing quite poorly, throwing a few flares on the pitch and making the game postpone. It's not going to help the club. Obviously, clubs want to play football and get into a rhythm of playing football, and by them not being able to play, it's just going to disrupt that. Unfortunately, this is more of what we're seeing in the Dutch football. If we hear any more on this, we'll let you know. Definitely something we do not want to promote in football, as it spoils the beautiful game. But let's talk about some of the football that actually did happen, and let's talk about the league. So let's go through the games. On Friday, in the Bundesliga, Stuttgart beat Darmstadt 3-1. In Ligue 1, Nice beat Monaco 1-0. In Serie A, Salernitana and Frosinone drew 1-1, and Lens and Genoa ended 1-0. In La Liga, Atletico Bilbao beat Elves 1-0. On Saturday in the Bundesliga, Hoffenheim beat Union Berlin 2-0. Dortmund beat Wolfsburg 1-0. Borussia Mönchengladbach lost to RB Leipzig 1-0. FC Augsburg beat Mainz 2-1. Bayern Munich got a demolition against Bochum, with Kane getting a hat-trick for 7-0. Werder Bremen and Cologne. Werder Bremen beat Cologne 2-1. In Ligue 1, Nantes and Lake Laurent. Nantes won this 5-3, and Brest beat Lyon 1-0. In Serie A, AC Milan beat Hellas Verona 1-0. Sassuolo beat Juventus 4-2, and Monza and Lazio drew 1-1. In La Liga, Mallorca lost to Genoa 5-3. Osasuna and Seville drew 0-0. Barcelona beat Salernitana Verona 3-2, and Almeria and Valencia drew 2-2. As of today on Tuesday, finally on Sunday in the Bundesliga, Leverkusen beat Werder Bremen 4-1. Frankfurt and Freiburg drew 0-0. Ligue 1, Strasbourg beat Mainz 1-0. Le Havre beat Clermont 2-1. Lens beat Toulouse 2-1. Montpellier beat Rennes 0-0. PSG and Marseille are to play at 7:45 as of recording this. Empoli lost to Inter Milan 1-0. Atalanta beat Cagliari 2-0. Fiorentina beat Udinese 2-0. Napoli and Bologna drew 0-0. And Roma and Turin are yet to play. In La Liga, Real Sociedad beat Getafe 4-3. Villarreal and Real Vallecano drew 1-1. Las Palmas and Granollers drew 0-0. Real Betis and Coenz currently is 1-0. And Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid are to play at 8 o'clock. So that is all the games that have been played this weekend. So let's have a quick look at the tables. In the Bundesliga, Bayern Munich are top with Bayer Leverkusen, Stuttgart and RB Leipzig. Looks like Bayern Munich finally have a replacement for losing Lewandowski in Harry Kane. It's racking up the goals now. Hoffenheim and Borussia Dortmund are in the Europa League spots. In the bottom, Mainz, Damsberg and Cologne are all in relegation with 1 point after 5 games, with Borussia Mönchengladbach with 2 points, the closest team to them. In La Liga, Barcelona are top of the table, joint on points with Granada. Real Madrid have a game in hand and will go top if they beat Atletico Madrid, with Atletico Bilbao in 4th. Valencia and Rayo Vallecano are in 5th and 6th. In the relegation, Guanya, Las Palmas and Almeria are in the bottom, with Almeria on 2 points, Las Palmas on 3 and Granada on 4, joint with Seville and Celta Vigo. In the Serie A, Inter Milan are top after 5 games, with AC Milan in second and Lens and Juventus making up the Champions League spots, with Fiorentina and Atalanta making up the Europa and Conference League. In the bottom, Udinese, Cagliari and Empoli are bottom, with Empoli having no points after 5 games, have 5 straight losses there. And finally, in Ligue 1, Brest are top with Nice, Monaco and Strasbourg in the top 4, with Le Havre and Marseille. PSG climb up the table slowly, in 7th. Probably likely they will start to climb further up the table. Currently, Lens, Lyon and Clermont are in the bottom, with Clermont having 1 point after 6 games. So yes, that wraps up this week's football. Obviously, a lot more with the Champions League now being back. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed. Do check out the Pitchsider for the latest news articles. Obviously, do check out the Saudi Arabia effect article we posted last week if you have not already. And hope you have a fantastic week, and we will see you next week. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.
For all the latest news, transfers and football articles, check out thepitchsider.com. It's the place to be. Contact us on our socials. Instagram and Twitter is @thepitchsider, or via email is thepitchsider@hotmail.com.